All right, notjust developers, welcome back to a new live stream. Today we're gonna continue our project that we have started during the previous weeks, and we're gonna implement a lot of exciting features in it. In this series, we're trying to build a WhatsApp clone, a chatting application that will allow one-to-one messaging and also group messaging. And so far, we have managed to implement most of the front end. We have managed to implement the backend during previous week. And today, the plan for today will be to cover the next three important topics. One of them is going to be sorting, because we would like our messages to be sorted. And when it comes to Amplify and DynamoDB, it's not that straightforward, so we will have to properly cover this topic so that you understand how to do it. After that, we're gonna get into the real-time updates, because what kind of a messaging application if you have to refresh the page in order to see the new messages. So today we're gonna subscribe to new messages using GraphQL subscriptions, and we're gonna update our user interface as soon as one message is added to our database. And lastly, we're gonna cover groups. I asked you what features you would like to see in these tutorials, and the groups, managing groups, creating groups was one of the most requested one. So I decided that we should cover it today. From the backend side, we are almost ready, like we designed it with this in mind to be able to create groups. But today we're gonna do it, we will implement it on the front end side where we will create and manage our group messaging. So that's the plan for today. I think we can get started and start coding the application. All right, guys. So this is our plan for today. By the way, if you want to follow along, make sure to follow the previous videos that we have. You can find the link in the description below for part 1 and part 2. In part 1, we covered the user interface. In part 2, we covered the backend side. And in order to follow, it would be really good if you at least check that out and see what we managed to build in that videos. Otherwise, you can download the asset bundle. Also, you can find the link in the description below. And by downloading the asset bundle, you're gonna get all the files that you need. And yeah, let me show you here. And also you will get the source code. In the source code folder here, you'll see two folders, part 1 and part 2. And this is the source code for every single part that we have done. So that's also an option. You can download the asset bundle, unzip part 2. You'll have to install the dependencies to deploy the backend. And after that, we can start working on the tasks for today. Also, by downloading the asset bundle, you are supposed to get the URL on your email for the guide that we are following for this tutorial. So if you have the URL from the previous weeks, oh my God, yes, if you have the asset bundle and the URL from the next week, then that's gonna be the same, so you can follow with that one. Now let's go ahead and let me open that. Where is it? Let me search quickly. Okay. WhatsApp clone. Here we have it. So this is our guide for building this project. And if you go scroll down a bit to our board, you can select, like, see all the to-do list items, and you can select only the board that is split into 3 separate parts. So our goal for today is this backend 2, and we have prepared 5 tasks to implement. But these are quite big tasks, so it's gonna take us a bit of time to cover them properly and implement them as they need to be. Let me know in the live chat where are you joining us from today. Matthias, hello. How are you doing? Right. So With the prerequisites, I already covered that. Download the asset bundle in the description below, and then we can get started. Before actually we get into the details of every specific task, I want to go ahead with you and add a couple of changes to our data model, deploy it so that until we get to that point, our API will be deployed and updated. This will be some changes that we will need throughout this tutorial, and more details I'm going to explain them when we get there. Now first, let me first sign in my AWS account, and then we can do the changes for our backend. So from the AWS console, let's go ahead and open AWS Amplify. And from here, let's open the application that we have created previously and launch the Amplify Studio. From the Amplify Studio here, let's go ahead to our data, and let's first of all see what changes do we need for the data. So one of the changes that will help us create groups would be to find the chat room. And at the moment, we don't have any information about the chat room because we used it only to connect people together. Now I would like to add two more fields. One of them would be the name of a group, and the other one will be the image of a group. Because these two fields, we didn't need them for one-on-one communication, but now that we are creating groups with multiple people, I think it's going to be nice to be able to create a name for that group and to add an image. These fields are not going to be required, so yeah, they will be undefined for one-on-one groups. Now, the next step, you know what? Because we need one more change to we need one more change. Let's not deploy it right now because we're going to deploy it in 1 second from our project. Now, actually, we're going to start with the first task that we have for sorting messages. And here I'm going to explain the first step that we need to implement in order to update our data model. So when it comes to sorting, what I'm interested in is to sort the messages on our chat screen. So if I go here on this chat, I already see that they are not sorted at all. Like the last one is 6 hours ago, then we have 7 days ago, and then we have another 6 hours ago. So why this happens is because we never specify how we wanted to sort these messages, and by default, they do not follow a specific sorting order. What we have to do is, first of all, we need to understand that sorting can happen on two levels. Sorting can happen on the client side, on the front end. So for example, you query all the messages from the backend and then you sort it on the React Native level, for example. But that's in cases where items are a very long array of data. For example, in our case, messages, we can have a lot of messages. Then this option is not good because, of course, you have to query all of these messages, and that query can be quite expensive, and then you have to sort. And if there are a lot of messages, that's as well a very expensive operation. Sorting on the client side is suited when the items are, when you have like a defined number of items. You have like, I don't know, 10 tags and you want to sort them. In that situation, it's okay to sort them on the user interface. Now back to our messages use case. we will not be able to use like client-side sorting because that's not the right way to do it. We have to sort them on the database layer. We need to ask our database to give back this data in a sorted order, the way we want it. And by doing it on the database layer, we will also be able to paginate sorting items. So for example, the database will first sort them, and then we will get like the first 100 items, for example. So because our API, the data for our API is powered by DynamoDB, we have to implement this sorting on the DynamoDB layer. Lucky for us, Amplify, the GraphQL transform allows us to create an abstract layer around this sorting, and this abstract layer are called indexes. So you most probably saw already indexes. They allowed us to create connections between data, but besides that, they will also give us the possibility to sort items. So what we have to do is to add an index on our on one of our models, for example, on the messages model. But to do that, we will have to update our schema, our API model, from our project, not from the Amplify Studio, because doing it in Amplify Studio is not possible at the moment, as you cannot provide like sort fields. So for that reason, we have to go back here and open Amplify backend API, the name of your project, and then schema GraphQL. Let me open my window because it's very, I don't have a oxygen. All right, so as I said, we need to update one of our indexes on our message model because we want to sort messages based on their created at. The thing is that we do not have a created at field here, but it is automatically created for us. If you remember, like if we look into our source GraphQL queries, we see that, for example, a message will have created at field. So let's go ahead and first define this field ourselves, because if we don't provide it, it will automatically be created, but we also can provide it whenever we need to create some indexes on them. So yeah, it's created at, and the type is going to be AWS date time, and it's going to be required. Now using this created at, we can provide the field created at as a sort key field for our index, for example, for this index. So this will allow us to query messages by filtering to a specific chatroom ID. And if we provide here sort key fields, we can provide here what do we want to sort the data on. So we want to sort on created at. By the way, you can provide multiple values here. And lastly, besides the sort key field, we can also specify we want to generate a GraphQL query that will specifically query this index that we are creating here. To do that, we're going to add the query field, and we will provide a name for this query field. For example, list messages by chat room. Okay, list messages by chat room. Let's double check if that's correct. So the name is by chat room, sort key fields created at, and query field is yeah. All right. So behind the scenes, this index will will create the no, I'm not going to go into that details because it's going to be too complicated. What we have to know is that by specifying this, we will have a query, a GraphQL query called list messages by chatroom ID, where we will be able to filter by chatroom and sort on the created ad. Specifically, what we need to get all the messages for this screen. Okay, before we go ahead and push the changes to the backend, let's go ahead and implement the other two changes that I was talking about in the previous step, and I said like abort. So, well, yeah, it should be here. Yeah, we need to add the name and the image for the chat room. And we're gonna also add it here from the schema.graphql. Let's find the chat room, and we have the ID here. Besides, below the ID, let's add the name. Come on, name, which is a string and not required, and also image, which is also a string and not required. Now with these changes, let's go ahead and push our changes to Amplify. So for that, we're gonna do Amplify push, and this will update our API to have these new fields and also to have the new index created for us. So we see that we will update the API. Let's say yes. And we should also be asked one more question. Come on. So this process, yeah, like this is what I was expecting. Yes, yes, to update our GraphQL statement as well, because we will need that new query that is going to be generated for us. So now what we have to do is to wait a couple of minutes until Amplify will do the changes in the cloud. Guys, how is it going for? Have you managed to build the WhatsApp clone so far? Are you following along? What are you doing today? Today we have a third day for the WhatsApp clone, and the goal for today, yeah, we have 3 goals to implement in the application today. One of them is going to be sorting, another one is going to be real-time data using GraphQL subscriptions, and lastly, we're going to have groups and group managing, group chatting, and so on. So yeah, like pretty exciting features that I know a lot of people from the community wanted to see them build. Sudhir is saying, thanks for all your work related to React Native. Just wanted to check if we have any tutorial to build web and mobile application using React Native like Twitter. When it comes for no, yeah, we don't have that at the moment. Specifically, React Native for web, we didn't cover it yet, but I'm interested to prepare a tutorial for that as well. Gile is saying, hey Vadim, I did some research on how to add voice, but I couldn't be able to implement it with AWS Amplify. Can you guide me? When it comes to audio and video calling, I'm trying to arrange the next episodes of this WhatsApp clone to be specifically with audio and video calling. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, I'm gonna try my best to do that. And in that case, like we're gonna have like a very complete messaging application with both like chatting, calling, and video calling functionalities. Ulvi, hello, how are you doing? Matthias is asking, how can we migrate to a new backend and create all the data models from the front-end project? Matthias, I guess that this is related to the problem that you got into in the course, creating a new backend. Like, I don't think I had to do that process, but from the knowledge that I have at the moment is the thing that I shared with you. basically creating an empty Amplify project in the cloud. And then from here, removing the AWS exports and connecting this local project with your cloud project, maybe using AWS Amplify init, AWS Amplify init. Not sure if that's gonna allow us to connect with an existing project or if that's gonna initialize it. Or maybe you don't need to create the project in Amplify Studio first, but you have to do AWS Amplify init. I would try this as well. And then like push all the changes, and because all our code is under Amplify backend, for example, the schema and so on, it's gonna create all the models and we'll set up all the databases that we need on our new account or on our new like backend specifically. But that's a bit off topic for today's tutorial, so don't worry guys, that was something not related to what we're building at the moment. And I was not sharing the screen. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, we're still waiting for our backend to be deployed. I just started following you because of Lucas. He strongly recommend you. Great content. Thank you for creating it. Keep it up. Thank you very much. And I also highly recommend Lucas content that you can also find on the channel. Oh, why it's taking so long? We need to be building, not waiting. Come on. Okay, let me see if we can actually do something ahead while we are waiting, but I don't think so. Actually, we can do a couple of things. But in my case, yeah, I see update complete, so I think it's better to wait a bit. Your thoughts about Reanimated 3. As far as I know, Reanimated 3 is the same Reanimated 2, but we targeted for the new architecture, which is really great. And if you're, yeah, like our goal would be to move our projects to the new architecture, but that implies that all the dependencies that we're using are on the new architecture. So, yeah, like Software Mansion was one of the first companies to invest so much time and effort into moving and adapting all their libraries that they're creating to the new architecture. So yeah, if that's the question specifically about Reanimated 3. And about EAS, I love it. Like it makes it so much easier to build and deploy application to the store, which was always a topic that was kind of frustrating for a lot of developers. It was error prone, like you had to understand all of these moving parts about signing the application, building it, packaging it in order to prepare for the stores. And with EAS, like it's super simple. In our course, we actually use EAS together with Git Actions to create a fully automated pipeline that whenever we push some code on our repository, Git Actions will trigger EAS to start building this project, and depending on the environment, also test the application and finally bring it to market, deploy it to market. So that allows us to focus fully on code. Like we write code, we push the changes, and those changes are like, well, I don't know, in half an hour they are on the market, ready to be deployed to the end users. So I really like that. I think that Expo is doing a great job at making mobile development experience as good as it is for the web developers, where everything is just pushing and everything is taken care of for you. And now with Expo, that's also possible when you are building mobile applications. Okay, that's taking quite a while. So we're almost advanced. So that means that I will go ahead and start with the next steps. So let's go ahead and open the code for this page where we will work with sorting our messages. This page is in our under source, screens, and here we have a chat screen. At the moment, we take the, like these messages is our flat list here, and the data for the flat list is coming from the chat room messages items. So what we are doing here is we are querying the get chat room, and whenever we are querying the chat room, if I open it up here, the GraphQL query that we are using also requests information about our the messages that are related to this chat room. So just by having one query that will query like the chat room, we get both the chat room and its messages. The thing is that in the next step, we're gonna use another query to get the messages. So, and one more step would be that we will have to listen and to update the list of messages. This list of messages should be kind of dynamic and we should always be able to update it. That means that we're gonna have to store our messages in a separate state variable. So let's go ahead and define this state variable messages. Set messages equal use state, and it's gonna be an empty array from the beginning. Now let's go ahead and see where are we working with messages, for example. Okay, so if I scroll down, I will delete that console log. And here in the flat list, where we have this data, let's send messages that we now have in the state. It's gonna be empty, but as a temporary solution for this not to be empty, when we are querying this GraphQL get chat room, let's go ahead and here in the result, expand this to actually do two things. The first step is to set the chat room from the result, and the second one, which is temporary, is to set the messages that we will get from the result. Basically like this. Then dot messages dot items, if I'm not mistaken, should be like this. And also let's safely access them, and we see them back again. Delete this after querying messages directly. Okay, so now our messages are stored in a state variable. We can call this set messages at any point in time to update it, and it's going to be reflected in the user interface. Perfect. We are kind of ready for the next step. Store messages in a state variable. Query the list messages by chat room. Okay, we're going to do that. But before, we need to see if it's completed. I don't know, for me, like previous days, deploying specifically updates to the API takes a little bit more than expected, but thankfully it is done now. So our GraphQL schema compiled successfully. And we can already go ahead and see what changes this created by going and checking our upsync. So let's go to Amplify Studio, let's access the GraphQL API, and then let's press on these deployed resources. That will open our upsync. And here we can go ahead in the queries. And for the query here at the top, we can find now list messages by chat room. This is the new query that was created just because we not just because, but because we specify in our schema GraphQL that this index, we want to query this index by specifying the query field list messages by chat room. Now, because the index is created on the chat room ID, if we look in the list message by chat room ID is actually required. So we have to provide a chat room ID to get some information from this query. So we're gonna have to provide the chat room ID, I don't know, 1, for example. And the next step is the sort direction. We see another property in our input sort direction that we can specify ascending or descending. In our case, we want to sort them descending, where the latest message is queried first. Latest, yeah. Yeah, so with that being said, we can go ahead and check this newly generated query in the GraphQL queries here. So if I'm gonna search for list messages by chat room, we will find this query here. List messages by chat room. We found it here, and we have messages in chat room. I don't think we will need to change anything here. So let's actually go back to our chat screen and let's import a couple of things from here. For example, where we import the get chat room from the queries, let's also import the list messages by chat room. Now, we're gonna leave this use effect to be responsible for fetching chat room, because we also need information about the chat room. And we're gonna create a new use effect that will be responsible for fetching the messages. So let's create this use effect like this. We're gonna provide the empty dependency array because we want to fetch messages when we mount our component, basically when we mount this page. And here, what will we want to do? Well, we're gonna start with, actually, let's just copy paste the API query from the top here. And we're gonna just change the operation. So instead of get chat room, we're gonna provide the list message by chat room. And here in the input fields, if you remember, we have to specify the required field chat room ID and the sort direction. So instead of ID, we're gonna provide chat room ID, and because we have the same name, I can actually remove one. And we can also provide sort direction. How is it? Sort direction like this. That is gonna be descending like this, descending. Now, when we get the result, we will not have to set the chat room. Let's delete this one. Let's delete this comment as well. And in the set messages, we're gonna set the result.data dot the same name, list messages by chat room. And that's it, because that's gonna be our array of data. Now, because we are querying the messages in a separate use effect, let's go back and remove these set messages that we called whenever we queried the chat room. So this way, it's gonna be, we can also delete this one to simplify it a bit. All right, let's see if we still will get the messages. Probably we don't, but we can console log the result here. Result. And I see already possible unhandled exception for what? Data list messages. Oh, because we need dot items. Yes, dot items. So list messages by chat room ID dot items. Now we see them back again. But the cool thing is that now they, as you can see, they are sorted, and the most recent message is here on the bottom as it's supposed to be. And if we scroll up, we see that all of these messages are older. So hey, this is going to be a new message. It doesn't appear automatically because we still didn't implement subscription, but that's going to be the next step. Let me just simply refresh the page, and I should see that message at the end. Hey, a few seconds ago. Yes. So with that being said, we have properly queried our data and also sorted it on the backend side. Let's have a look at our guide here, because we will also have to do a couple of more things. Query, yes, we did that. And yeah, one issue, let me check if I'm gonna be able to reproduce. Not sure if I'm gonna be able to reproduce, but I'm gonna explain you here. So because our chat screen can basically mean that it's the same component for different chat screens, we have to query this not when the component mounts, but when the chat room ID changes. So every time we move to a new chat room ID, that means that we need to query again our messages. And that's the same for the chat room here. Let's also add it here. And whenever we will change the chat room ID that is coming from the route params, then we're gonna query the updated data for this specific chat room. All right, that is done. Sort chat rooms on the main screen. All right, the next step would be to sort the chat rooms that we see here on the main screen. And sorting them, in order to implement sorting on the backend for these chat rooms, that's a bit more challenging, and you would have to basically expand the many-to-many connection that I was talking about in the previous tutorial. Basically, the relationship between the chat room and the user, in order to be able to merge them together and add an index on which we will be able to sort. But because the number of chat rooms is kind of a limited definite number, like it's not infinite, or it's not going to be a huge number, I'm going to take a shortcut here, and I'm going to actually show you how you can sort things on the front end. So sorting the chat rooms is going to be done on the front end. And to do that, we need to go ahead and open the screen that is responsible for these chats. So in the screens, let's go ahead and the chats screen. In the chat screen here, we have a data for the chat room. So before setting the chat rooms in our state, I want to sort them. So to do that, let's first of all save them into a variable, and I called it rooms is equal to this response. To this response, we can also do it kind of safely. So if response data dot items or an empty array, then we will get the sorted rooms equal to, we're going to use the JavaScript sort method, and the JavaScript sort method expects a function that will compare two items in the array. One item is going to be basically room 1. The second one is going to be room 2. Now, to sort them, what are we going to sort them on? We're going to sort basically on this field that we see here a few seconds ago, 4 minutes ago, 4 hours ago. This field, if you remember, this is the timestamp of the last message. Or actually, we should do it on the updated add field for the chat room. Yeah, that's also actually a very good option. Either on the updated add on the chat room, or on the created add of a last message of a chat room. And I think the second option but the first option to use the updated at field for the chat room is gonna make more sense. So for that, we are gonna do, basically we need to compare two dates. So we're gonna transform the room2 dot updated at minus new date for room1 dot updated at, and we should compare them too. So the result, we're gonna set it in state. And if I refresh, probably nothing is gonna happen yet. Here in the guide, I did, oh, actually I did also on the updated at, but this is a chat room user actually. So I would have to do room2 dot chat room dot updated at, and here room1 dot chat room, similar to what we had here, chat room updated at. And now if I refresh, will it work? No, it doesn't. So what did I miss? Rooms. Oh, it's, yeah, rooms.sort. ¿Por qué? Maybe my updated at fields are not actually updated for this. Let me, doesn't make a lot of sense, but it might be true, you know? If I change room1 here and room2 here, will they be reverted? If yes, that means that it's working. If not, the number should be on top. No, they are not reverted. That means that we're not properly sorting them. Fetch chat rooms, set chat rooms, rooms sort. Let me do console.log rooms. I might chat room, and we have, oh, we don't have updated yet. Yes, that's true. We are not querying at the moment the updated at. So let's look at the list chat rooms that is coming from this directory queries. So these directory queries, we have here our very specific query that gets our chat rooms. So as we can see under the chat room itself, we do not have the updated at field. And now if we're gonna add it, let's see. Okay, come on. Chats. Validation error field, any fine field, updated at. Updated at chat room. Updated. My bad. And now they are sorted. And I think I should do room 2 and this one room 1, because I need them as well descending. Come on. Is it working or not? I think it's not properly working. console log rooms. So here is our rooms JSON formatter. We're gonna get to the end of it. So the first chat room has an updated add. Last message null, last message object. I'm gonna do it like this. Map to easier debug. Rooms r dot chat room dot updated at. And the same I'm gonna do with the sorted rooms. So this is gonna be our rooms, and this is gonna be our sorted. Evaluating chat.lastMessage, where is it coming from? I think I had a console log somewhere that is causing that error. Console log. This one? Yeah, this one. Chat.lastMessage. Chat.lastMessage. I don't need chat.lastMessage. Oh. It should be here. So rooms created 1028. 1021, 1028. So it's definitely not sorted. It's definitely not sorted. But why? New date, updated at, minus new date. If I just gonna copy this from here, will you work? Something is moving. I'm really curious what is the problem. Now, if the one with avatar will be the last one, that means that it's working. Yes, it's the last one. That means that it's working, which is weird. If anyone sees the issues from the difference between these two options, because I only see that I call them differently. Should be the same. Yeah, weird. So, okay, if it works, it works. And I'm gonna leave it like this. That means that we have our chat room sorted by the last updated at. And whenever we will receive a new message, that action will actually update the chat room to show the last message, and it will, update this field updated at, and our chat room will appear at the top here in our list. Okay, perfect. What I want to also do is, we see that these chat rooms, they do not have a last message, but they still show like this field. In case with a chat room, a chat list item, in case it doesn't have a last message, I don't want to show this. No, the text is not going to be displayed, but this days just created that and so on. So for this subtitle, the displays when was the last message created, we're going to do it only if the chat last message is true. We're going to display it. Otherwise, don't display it. And this way we see it only where we have last messages. Perfect. And if I do it here, hello. And if I refresh, I see it here at the top, hello. A few seconds ago, it was updated. So that means that that's perfect. All right, so render the last message time only, yes. That means that we are done with the first task with sorting messages, and we saw two ways of sorting our items. One of them was sorting on the backend side using in any index here by providing the index that has sort key fields, and also provided the query field to be able to query them specifically on this index and sort them on created at. And also we saw how to sort on the front end. Actually, what we did here is first we queried all the chat rooms, and then on the front end we simply sorted them and displayed them in the sorted order. So with that being said, we can go ahead and commit all our changes. Git status. And this is our backend to sort, backend to one, sort messages, and not only messages, it's more. Okay, so that means that we're ready for our next task. Any questions for the topic, guys, for sorting using DynamoDB Amplify? Because if we don't have other questions, we can go ahead and start our second task for today, which is going to be working with GraphQL subscription and listening for new messages. So how we're going to do that? We are going to... We're going to take advantage of the GraphQL subscriptions to power the real-time functionalities of our application. So whenever you have to display real-time data, basically you have to create a connection between your client, which is in our case our application, and the server. And by creating this connection, the server, whenever he has to update the client, he will directly send the new data or the new messages to the client. So doing it yourself, like you'd have to work with sockets. But in our case, we're going to take advantage of the GraphQL subscriptions. And on Amplify, they are actually behind the scenes, they are implemented using WebSockets. So they simplify a lot of low-level complexity of this real-time communication. And yeah, like we just simply use our GraphQL server, the GraphQL API, and subscribe to data updates. How does it work? Well, whenever we run a mutation, for example, in this case, let's say from a web application, we run a mutation to add a node. This mutation will be executed by the GraphQL server. In our case, that's AppSync. And AppSync will go ahead and notify using a subscription all the connected clients that, hey, there is a new node. This subscription will go back to the web application and also to another mobile application, another client that has an active connection with the server. So this way, we know that whenever we are doing a mutation, some actions, we will be notified and we can take the right steps in order to update our UI. So what do we have to do? What do we have to do for that? Let's go ahead in our source GraphQL, and here we saw about queries. Queries are operations that we use to get data. Mutations are operations that we use to update data on the server, and we have a third file, subscriptions. Subscription are our, you guessed it right, for our subscriptions, and they allow us to receive updates when something happens. What updates are we expecting to see? We need to, whenever we are on this page, on a chat room with a user, we need to subscribe to updates of new messages on this chat room. And whenever a new message is posted, we need to update our UI to show the new message. So for that, we need the subscription on create message. On create message is right here, and it will give us the information about the message that was just created. Okay, knowing that, let's go ahead in our screens, chat screen. Let's go ahead and import this, this subscription from GraphQL subscriptions, and we're gonna import on create message. Now, let's go ahead and use this on create message subscription and actually subscribe. For that, we're gonna go into the use effect that fetches messages. And yeah, like first of all, we're gonna try to fetch the messages. And after we fetch the messages, we want to subscribe to updates. Subscribe to new messages. So what do we have to do? We're gonna use the API module the similar way as simply querying our GraphQL, api.graphql. We're gonna again use a GraphQL operation, and here we're gonna use the on create message operation. Now, this is not gonna return us a promise, but it's gonna allow us to subscribe like this, subscribe to changes. The subscribe function expects an object with fields like next, and this is going to be the function that is going to be called whenever the subscription will give us the next data. And also there is another property on error. Is it with capital or just error? Error. And what we're gonna do here, we're gonna simply console log that error. So console warn error. Now let's go ahead and destructure the value from here, and let's console log this value to see what do we get here. Value. Okay, I'm gonna open here. Let's also do console log new message. And another thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna connect from my phone to this application, and I'm gonna send messages from a different account to simulate two users talking with each other. All right, let's see. I think it's one of these users. So I joined the conversation with the user that I'm signing here on the emulator from another account. So I'm gonna say hello. Now we see here this new message that we receive. We see it a couple of times because this information will be we see the logs both for our physical device and for my emulator, so that's why we see a couple of them. But what we see here is the new message has the information, including the on create message with this newly created message that I sent with hello Okay, that's good. So the new message is in our value.data.on create message. So what we have to do is to simply put it in our state variable with the other messages that we already have there. How we're gonna do that? Let's do set messages. We're gonna provide here an update function. We're not gonna work directly with the messages value because we need to update the existing messages from the state variable. So existing, or let me check how I call them. Yeah, maybe just M for messages. Existing messages, we will return a new array that initially will have a value .data.onCreateMessage, and after that will contain the rest of the messages that were already in the state until this point. Now, if I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna start chatting, we see that it right away appeared here without any updates. And I just sent the message from my phone. I don't know why I received a message here, an error message on my device. No, everything is fine. So we saw how we can subscribe to new messages, and we will and how to update the state variable to reflect these messages. Okay, the next steps is to make sure that whenever we unmount this component, this screen, we stop listening for new messages. This is very important. Whenever we subscribe to something, we need to unsubscribe in order not to have memory leaks. How we're going to do that? Well, the API GraphQL will give us back the subscription equal to API GraphQL. And if we return a function from our use effect, this function is going to be called whenever the component unmounts, and we can use it to unsubscribe. So we can do subscription.unsubscribe, or just, yeah, unsubscribe, like this, unsubscribe. And this way, when we leave this screen, we're gonna stop listening for new messages. Okay, perfect. What else I wanted to say? Another issue that I want to point out to you is that with this approach, we are basically listening to the operation create message. We are listening to any message create event. Does that make sense? Come on, Vadim, you can do it. So by specifying simply on create message, any message that is going to be created in our database will trigger this subscription for basically everyone who is listening to it. That means that if from my phone, I'm going to actually go to a different account, super secret, and I'm going to send a different account a super secret message. Actually, we see the super secret message coming here, and for some reason, for a couple of times, which is kind of weird. Oh yeah, it's coming from a couple of times because we were not unsubscribing. So we just created a couple of subscriptions. So I just would refresh it. But the problem with listening to any message creation is still there. So to avoid listening to any message, we want to listen to specifically messages that are inside this chat room. Messages that have the chat room ID equal to this one. To do that, we can provide a filter as the input here. So filter. What filter we want to provide? Chat room ID should be equal to chat room ID. But we need to provide an object with equal key, and the value would be chat room ID. Let me double check if that's correct. Chat room ID equal to chat room ID. And now let me save it, and let me go ahead and open the conversation here. And I'm gonna send the same super secret message again to another user, super secret. And we shouldn't see the message here. Yes, we didn't see it. But if I'm gonna enter the conversation with this user and I'm gonna say, hey there, we receive it correctly. So now we are listening only to new messages that are created in this specific chat room because we provided the filter for our subscription. Perfect. So yeah, that is done for listening to new messages. Now, every time a person will write a message and you will be active in this screen, you will see it right away updated on your device. By the end of this tutorial, by the end of this video, I'm going to actually share the QR code with everyone so we can all join and maybe create some groups together and discuss. But now let's go back and let's actually start the next task because it's quite similar to the task that we currently did. So the next task is to listen to the updates for the chat room. Why do we need that? We need that, first of all, to have like the most up-to-date data about the chat room and what information is always updating in the chat room. It's the last message. So if we want this last message on this screen to be updated every time someone sends a new message, we need to listen to updates. First of all, let's go ahead and the same way as we subscribe to updates on create message, let's go ahead and subscribe to updates whenever our chat room is updated, not created, but updated. So for that, let's start with subscription equal API.GraphQL. And then we're going to have a GraphQL operation. What operation we are interested in? We are interested in subscription on chat room update. Do we have something like this? On update chat room, this one. So let's import on update chat room in our file. And let's send it to the GraphQL operation. And what information we will have, what variables input we will give to this operation. We can have a look at the subscription here to see what it expects. So on update chat room has a filter, and we can filter based on the ID to be equal to something. So that means that we again have a filter. Filter. We need on the ID, and the ID should be equal to chatroom ID. We want to subscribe to updates for the chat room that we are currently in. Okay, that's good. And after this, we want to subscribe. With next, we're gonna get the value here. We need to do something with the value, and also on error, we are gonna simply console warn error like this. And we should not forget to unsubscribe. So subscription dot unsubscribe here. Subscription. Hey, come on. Oh, because return function that will unsubscribe. Okay, perfect. And here let's do console log value. Let's see what information we have. Console log updated. All right. So now here, if I'm gonna do C, and if I'm gonna go to the chats, here, and let me actually send hello. Then I'm gonna see we have a new message, and we also have this updated. And the updated contains the on update chat room, and we have a new last message that was created there. We have a new updated at field. Where is it? Updated at field, which is exactly the time that we have right now. Yes, it's 15. And if I'm gonna do now, as you can see, it's 15:15:00. If I'm gonna do one more time, the updated at is gonna be 15:15 again 00. Am I looking at the right thing? Last changed at. Version 11, version 10. Yeah, this is actually the problem, and this is why we need to listen to updates. Because as you can see, the last updated at is actually not updating properly. And also the last message ID shouldn't be. So chatroom last message ID now ends with 1B6, and the previous time it ended with, actually it was a different one. Again, 1B6, similar to the previous one. And if I'm gonna do another one, it's gonna be again 1B6. So this should be the last one. If I'm gonna send, let me actually go back here, refresh the page, and you will see that it's not properly updating the last message. It was with this curly, and it's still hello. But if we go here, we see that this should be the last one. So that means that our updating the last message is not working. And it's not working because whenever we are trying to update the chat room, we are actually using an outdated version of a chat room in the components input box. When we set the new last message, we send here the version of the chat room, and here we need to send the most up-to-date version. This version is coming from the chat room. The chat room is coming from the props, and we use this input box in our chat screen. In the chat screen, if we scroll, we have an input box that has the chat room. The problem is that the chat room in our application never updates. We only query it, and we call the set chat room only once when we get the initial data. So we are trying to work with an outdated chat room object. That's why it doesn't reflect the last changes. And to solve that, we started working on the subscription in order to update our chat room every time we receive an update. So we saw that the value here, it contains the data on updated chat room and contains information about the updated chat room. Let's go ahead and set the chat room. We are going to destructure the existing fields from the chat room, and then we're gonna destructure the things from the value dot data dot on update chat room. In this way, we're gonna keep fields from the existing one, and we're gonna override only the ones that changed. We can also add some like to safely destructure it. If the existing chat room is null, we're gonna use an empty object. So yeah, this now should work. If I'm gonna do it like this, let's do 1. And then let's do 2. So we see, and let's do 3, and let's do also 4. Now the expected last message should be 4. So if I go back here and I refresh this page, we should see that the last message is 4. And if that's the case, we updated it correctly. Yes, it's 4. That means that It's exactly how we want it, and we are listening to updates and updating properly our chat room. But that's not it, because whenever I write here a message and I go back to this screen, I also want this screen to be updated and to reflect without me having to update it like this. I want it to reflect those changes there. One way to update this information is to actually give, to implement the pull down to refetch mechanism. Pull down to refetch. Let me think if that's going to be a good idea. For that, we're going to need state variable loading to know if we are currently loading the new chat rooms. Set loading, use state, it's false. We're gonna, let's see. We're gonna extract this API call inside a separate function called const fetch chat room. Let's do it async actually. And we're gonna put this API call here. In this use effect, let's simply call fetch chat room. Now, I think I will move to async await. So const result equal await. And then I'm not gonna need this dot then, because I will get the result there and I will set it in the chat room. Now, why I did it like this, because I want to also initially set loading to true, and when we receive a message and when we set it to state, I want to set loading to back to false. So with this function that refetches information and with a loading state, we can go ahead for our flat list and we can say on refresh, let's do fetch chat room, and this also needs a loading indicator, a loading boolean that we will say loading, or it's not loading, it's refreshing. Yes, it's refreshing. It's gonna be loading. This one we don't need it. Now if I'm gonna pull down here, why it's not working? On refresh. Oh, I did it into a wrong place. I did it in the chat screen, but I should have done it in the chats screen with multiple chats. So I'm gonna have to move a couple of things there. For example, the loading state, we need it here. The loading state we need here. Actually, I'm gonna revert back and just implement it there because I messed up a bit. It's okay, it happens. So here we are fetching the rooms. That means that this function we can put it out of a use effect. Fetch rooms. In the use effect, just call the function fetch rooms. We have loading. Let's go ahead and set loading to true at the beginning. Set loading true. And at the end, let's go ahead and do set loading false. Now for the flat list, we simply say refreshing equal loading, and on refresh just fetch chat rooms. Now if I'm gonna pull down, we're gonna see the loading indicator, and now we see the updated list. And to test it, we can go ahead and write here last message. We can send it, we can go back, and we see that it's not updated. And if we want to update, we simply pull it down and we update the last message. This is very useful also whenever we want to check like newly created chat list. it also will work like this, and it's quite easy to implement the refresh mechanism. But that's not everything, because I also actually want to subscribe to chat list item updates. So I want every item from this room to listen to updates for the chat list information, and whenever the last message changes, to actually update it in real time without us having to even pull it down. So for that, we are gonna go to our components. We're gonna go to the chat list item. And in the chat list item, after we fetch the user, chat list item, not after we fetch the user, like in a separate use effect, we're gonna subscribe to updates for this chat list item. But for that, we're gonna have to start working with a state variable. So let's go ahead and define the chat room in the state, set chat room. Initially, this value is gonna come from the property, and we're gonna put it in our state. Now, everywhere where we're using the chat, let's go ahead and replace it with a chat room. For example, here, instead of chat, let's do chat room.users. Here, chat room. Basically, we need to move all the references to reference our state variable, chat room. And here as well, chat room. So I think now it should be working. Okay, now if I'm gonna, yeah, it still works as expected, but because we have a state variable, we can subscribe to updates and call this set chat room to update it whenever it actually updates. So for that, we're gonna subscribe to our onUpdate chat room, similar to what we did in our screens chat screen. We have here the subscription for the chat room. So let's copy it from here. Let's add in our component here. We're not gonna need the first operation. We only need the subscription. Like this. The property is not gonna be chat room ID, but it's gonna be the property chat.id from props, chat.id as well here, chat.id. And we should import from Amplify the API, the GraphQL operation. We need to import from, Amplify, no, GraphQL subscriptions. We need to import on update chat room. On update chat room. What else do on update chat room? Yeah, we have it. And I think everything is working. Now let me go ahead and try to send a message to this user and ask, are you updating? And if it's working, it should automatically, without refreshing, without doing anything, it should update. So let's check. Are you updating? Yes, it's the second one actually, yeah, with a number. Yes. So we see that it updates automatically. And if I'm gonna join the chat room and say here, now it works, I'm gonna send the message, it's gonna appear here automatically. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna see here, now it works a few seconds ago. Awesome. So that means that we properly subscribe to all the data changes that we care about for our application in order to provide a very good user experience for our application. So that means that we are done with listening for chat room updates. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna commit everything, but before that, let me double check my console logs to clean them up. For example, here I don't need it, and that's probably it. Let me do git add. And commit our changes. Our changes is gonna be backend 2 and 3. Subscriptions. All right. Perfect. So we are done with the first part of this tutorial. The first part was related to our sorting and for our real-time messages. Now, the next step is something that you've asked. So many of you wanted to see it in action, and I'm talking about our groups. Okay, that's the interesting part. Guys, how are you following along? Do you enjoy it? Group messaging. The benefit of the design that we have created in our previous, when we design our data model, the benefit is that we designed it with group messaging in mind from the beginning. Because in our case, a chat room has a relationship of many to many with users, which means that by default on our database layer, it supports adding multiple users to the same chat room, not just 2 users. So from the backend side, in this regards, it is ready, and it is ready to actually be created. And what's going to be the difference between a chat room between 2 users and a chat room with more users? It's when we, let me go in the screens, in the contact screen, contacts, probably in the components content list item. So whenever we press on a contact in this list, we are following a couple of steps. First of all, we are creating a new chat room. Then we are adding the clicked users to the chat room, and then we are adding ourselves to the chat room. In case we're gonna want to create groups, the only difference is gonna be this part. Because we still will create a chat room, we will still add ourselves to that chat room, but instead of adding only one user to that newly created chat room, we're gonna add an array of users. Basically, we're gonna add multiple chat room users. So yeah, like technically this is gonna be the only difference, but we're gonna have a couple of differences from the user interface on how to create them, how to select them, and so on. So let's go ahead and open our groups tab here. And we already have added the name and the image field to our chat room model in the beginning of this tutorial. So for that, we are good. Now we need to add the new group button in the contact screen. In the context, at the top of this list, we need to add a button for new group. And I already prepared it for you with styles, not to waste time. So let's copy this list header component. Let's go ahead in our source, screens, contact screen. And here for our flat list, let's give this header. I don't know why I didn't copy properly. Let's go ahead and give this list header. Now if I'm gonna save I think I also need to import a couple of things. For example, pressable. Let's go ahead and import it from React Native. And material icons as well, I think. Yes. Import material icons from Expo vector icons. Now if I'm gonna go here, text, import text from React Native, and are you good now? Yes. Now we see that at the top of this list, we have this new group button. Whenever we press on this new group button, we should be redirected to a new screen where we will be able to set the name of our group and also select people that we want to create the group with. So for that, let's go ahead and create a dummy screen in our screens folder for the new group screen.js. Let's go ahead and generate a dummy component here, and then go ahead and add it to our navigation stack. So in the navigation index.js, let's duplicate this chat. No, it doesn't matter. One of them, duplicate one of them, and let's do new group. And the component is going to be a new group screen that we should import from our screens. Now, the last step is to go back to our contact screen, and we will need to navigate whenever we press on this new group button. So to navigate, we first need the use navigation. So let's go ahead and get our navigation using the use navigation hook. And in the on press of our component here, let's do navigation.navigate to the new group. And if I press on this button, I'm redirected to the new group screen. Perfect. So we have created the new group button. Here I actually provided with a dummy new group screen that is very similar to our contact screen. So actually let's copy it from here and replace our new group screen with the component that I provided you. And as I said, it's very similar to the previous contact screen. It also has a flat list. It also renders contact list items. And the only difference is that it has a text input at the top. And when I press new group, there is this text input where we can provide the group name. I don't know, 1, 2, 3. It also has a button in the header for create. Like on Android, it doesn't look the best, but on iOS, it really looks nice. So I was testing it on iOS when preparing this. What else it has? Like this is the header button that it has. We get all the users. And yeah, that's mostly what we need. Now, our next steps is to make our contact list item the component that displays one contact item, both here in the new group list and in the contacts list. We need to make this item a bit more reusable. We need to make it a bit more abstract, and to make these components reusable, they should not take care of very specific actions. And what do I mean? If now I go to the contact list item, this component renders the contact list item, which is quite general thing to do, that's okay. But it also handles what should happen when we press on one of these items. And because this on-press event is not specific to the contact list item, but it's specific to the contacts page, because on this contacts page, when we press on an item, we want to create a private group messaging with a user. But this action is not the same everywhere where we will need to display a contact list item. Because in the new group here, we actually want a bit different behavior whenever we press on this item. So for that reason, instead of implementing the logic of what should happen when we press here, we will go ahead and extract this logic in the screen that is responsible for that. So let's go in the screens for the contact screen. And this screen, like when you think about it, is responsible of creating new one-on-one chat rooms. So let's go ahead and open back with the contact list item. And let's move this on press event, this big function. Let's move it to the contact screen here. Besides this, we're gonna also have to move a couple of import statements. So I'm gonna copy these 3 import statements from here because we don't need them here anymore. So let's copy and let's paste them in the contact screen. But also make sure that we don't have duplicates because this one is a duplicate. What else? Mutations is not a duplicate, but we can put them together like this. And services is not a duplicate. But I think, yeah, like we need to adjust the paths for the import. And now they should be good. Now this on press event that in this context can be called actually more specific, not that generic, because we want, when we press, we want to create a private chat room with the user. It's very specific, create a chat room with a user. And what user? We will need the actual information about that user here in the parameters. Now, when we render our contact list item, let's go ahead and send the onPress event. OnPress is going to be a function that will call our create a chat room with the user. And with what user? With item. With item. Yes, with item. The last step is to go back in our contact list item here and receive this onPress event that we can actually default with an empty function, because if we don't send, we don't want to break anything. And yeah, it's automatically going to be sent to this onPress event. Let's now have a look if we didn't break anything. So if I'm going to go here and I'm going to try to press on this user, it should actually redirect me to the existing chat room with some possible unhandled promise rejection. We'll see why that is happening. But if I'm going to do with a new user, it's working as it was working before. Why it's not working when I'm trying to go to the same user? Probably I'm not sending the right data. I'm going to the chat with the ID. I'm going to the chat with the existing chat room. Console log existing chat room. What's happening here? If I go here, existing, oh, chatroom.id. Okay. So if existing chat room, that means that existing chat room dot chatroom.id. No? Oh, chatroom.id. Or simply chatroom ID like this. So if I'm gonna go here and press on this user, come on. No, it's still not working. Possible handle location. Variable ID is null. If I'm gonna do .id, will you work? And let's go here. It works, but why it doesn't query the messages? So a bit of debugging. Source screens, chat screen. We received a new chat room ID. It should start fetching the messages. Fetch messages for chat room ID. And if I go from here, we see fetch messages. If I go once again, we see. If I go from here, the ID is not correct, you see? So we have to console log again the existing chat room to check what's going on there. Chat room ID with 78. Do we have more chat rooms with this user or what? It shouldn't be. Let's see what. Which one is this chat room? So going to the apps in console, I'm gonna remove everything and I'm gonna add a query. And I want the query get chat room by this ID, and I want, I don't know, ID, messages, items, text, and also users. Users, ID, no, ID, name, and image. So this one doesn't have any messages, but has some users. Oh, but it has a lot of users. Yes. So whenever we are checking common chat room with users, we need to only look at the private chat rooms, not the group one as well. Because at the moment it saw that it has a common group with that user and it didn't create that. So get all chat room of user 1. Or chat room find chat room users. Yeah, it needs to be, these items should be of length 2 dot length equal to and one of them should be our user. Okay. And now if I'm gonna go here and open this one, yes, it redirects me to the right one, to the same chat room as we are gonna go from here. All right, perfect. Let's close this one. And going back to the page that we were working on. Yeah, what we were doing before is we moved the on-press from the contact list item to the contacts screen. So this on the contact screen now, if we press, is going to be managed, the on-press event is going to be managed by the screen itself, not by the specific item, because we want the items to be reusable and on-press event will be different for every scenario. And we've done that because on the next new group screen, what we want to do is to make this contact list items selectable. And what do I mean by that? We will receive a property here, selectable. It's going to default to false. But if it's going to be true, what we want to do is after our content, we want here to render something if it's selectable. What we want to render? Well, we will render basically an icon from Ant Design. Let me check if I... and if I set to true here, Ant Design, we need to import it. Expo vector icons. Now if I'm gonna go to that screen, we see the check mark. Actually, the check mark should be only if the user is selected. But we're also gonna receive that is selected. Initially, it's gonna be, by default, it's gonna be false. So if the user is selected, which is gonna be determined by the property, and we're gonna implement this in a moment, then we want to render this check icon. Otherwise, we want to render an empty check icon, which is going to be this font awesome. Let's make sure to also import font awesome from Expo Vector Icons. Font awesome. And now if I'm going to go here in the new group, I see that all of them are not selected. If I'm going to change the property to true, all of them are going to be selected. And if I'm going to change the selectable to false, this icon is not going to be visible at all. So that means I can go back to selectable false and is selected to also false, to default them to false, and only to enable them on the screens that we need these selectables. Where do we need it? We need on the new group screen. So let's go ahead in the source screen, new group screen. And for the contact list here, let's do selectable equal true, or if you just send selectable, it's gonna send the value true there. So now on the contact screen, the items are not selectable, and on the new group screen, the items are selectable. But now we should actually implement the feature to select them. How we're gonna do that? We are going to keep an array of IDs for the selected users. So selected users ID, user IDs, and let's do set selected user IDs equal use state, and initially it's going to be empty array. Let me double check if selected user IDs, if I name them the same. Yes. Now what we need to do is we need to create a function that will handle the on-press events of these contact list items. So the function, I called it on contact press, it's gonna receive the ID of a contact, and we're gonna have to do a couple of things. For example, we're gonna need to update the selected IDs, and we're gonna provide there an update function based on the user IDs that are already in state. And how we're gonna update these user IDs? Well, we should check if the user IDs already includes the ID, then we need to remove it. Basically, remove ID from selected, and otherwise we want to add the ID. Add ID to selected. How we're gonna remove? We are going to return the user IDs array by filtering only the user ID that is not equal to this ID. So UID is different than ID. How to add it? Well, we're gonna return an array where we destructure the user IDs and also we destructure the ID. Now let's go ahead and send this onContactPress to our contact list item as the onPress event, which is gonna call the onContactPress item dot. What's item dot ID? Item dot ID. And if you remember correctly, we will also need to send one more property, is selected. And how do we know if it's selected or not? Whether the state variable for the selected user ID, if it includes the item.id, then we need to send true. Okay, with that being said, we can go here, new group, and we can start clicking on users and we see how we add them to here. Perfect, perfect, perfect. New group screen, contact screen. Probably I'm gonna add some padding to the content. Where is it? This one. To the content, I'm gonna add margin right 10 to add some spacing. Yeah, now it looks better. And like this, we can select users and we will have them selected in our, where is it, new group screen in the state variable. Okay, so we have an array of users. We have a name of the group that we want to create. The last step is to actually create the group with that name and with that array of users. Our is disabled if we don't have a name. Actually, let's add one more check to our button if it's disabled or not, because at the moment it only is disabled when the name is null. But if we didn't select any users, it's gonna be enabled, which doesn't make sense. So it should be disabled when either the name is missing or the selected users IDs dot length is less than 1. Selected users IDs. Oh, and we need to call this whenever to add it to the dependency array to update the button whenever we change the selected user's ID. And yeah, it will require us to select at least one user with which we will create the group. Can you remake Uber Eats with a new UI? I'm wondering what's the new UI. I haven't seen it. But yeah, not sure. We have other plans for our interesting projects, and Uber Eats is quite up to date. So if you want, you can follow along the Uber Eats that we have on the channel. We have done it this year, so it's very up to date. So guys, as I said, the last step for us is to actually create the group with this list of users. For that, let's go ahead in the contact screen and let's grab this create a chat room with user function. I'm gonna grab everything. I'm gonna go in the new group screen and under there on create group, let's press that function. Let's scroll up here and let's replace the name for the function like this. Now inside this function, I said that when creating a group, we don't have to check if we already have a chat room with that user, because if we create a group, we want to create a new group, even if we already have a group with that user. Now, the next step is to create an actual chat room, and that's what we need. Then we have a chat room here. add the clicked user to the chat room. Okay, this is the part that we are gonna have to update because we don't have only one user, we have multiple selected users. But the last step is actually the same because we want to add ourselves there and then we want to navigate. So let's comment out this part and think how to add the selected users to the chat room. Well, we will need to call this function for every single selected user that we have. So that means that we will do selected user IDs dot. Let's map through every user ID there. And for every user ID, let's call this API.GraphQL without a wait. I'm gonna show you what are we doing with a wait in a moment. Let's remove this from here. Now let's send the user ID to this user ID here. And actually we can remove this from here and simply call the parameter user ID with capital. It should be with capital, make sure. So this will call the create user chat room for every single user ID that we selected here. And by mapping on this array, we get back an array of promises because we simply return this promise. We are not awaiting this promise. Now let's wrap our array of promises in the promise.all like this. And when you wrap them in the promise.all, we can await this promise.all. And what it's going to happen is we're going to initiate the creation of all objects, and then promise.all will wait until every single user was added to the chat room, and after that, it's going to continue the execution here. Let's see if it will work. So I'm gonna create it with actually 2 users here. 2 users. Let's create. And we see, yes, because we need to import a couple of things here. And also why I'm not using the user. Because we don't need it. Yes. As I said, we need to import a couple of things. For example, API, GraphQL operation. We need authentication. For the queries, we need... No, for the mutation, we need create chat room and create user chat room. So let's do that here. And that's it. Let's try again. And we are redirected to the chat room. Hello. Now at the moment we don't know if it worked correctly, but what we can do is in the chat screen to go ahead and do console.log json.stringify, and let's stringify the chat room. Okay, here we have it. Let's grab this big object and let's put it into JSON formatter to see if it created correctly. So here we have it. It has some messages with our hello. It has users, and let's see how many users. It has 1 user, it has the 2nd user, and it has the 3rd user. Exactly the 2 users that we selected and ourselves. Okay, that's good. We can also remove the selected from here when we finish this. So in the new group screen, before we navigate to the next screen, we can do set selected user's ID to an empty array and then set name to an empty string. and this will reset it after creating it. So I think creating group is finished. And the next step would be to display some information about the group to see how many members are there, and to be able to to have some more details about that. Before we do that, let's go ahead and commit everything. Git add, git commit -m, and here we're gonna have backend 2 for groups. Okay. Why so quiet today, guys? How is it doing? Everything is clear? Do you have any questions maybe for regarding the groups? So we're moving pretty well today. We're almost done with the planned features. The last step is to display information about our groups. And yeah, we're gonna do that now. So moving back to our board, let's see group information. What do we want to do and where do we want to display this group information? Well, let's do that as a separate screen, and we're gonna get there by pressing like a 3 dots icon in the header of this screen. But for that, let's first of all define the screen. Group info screen, new file, group info screen.js. Here, let's generate the dummy component and let's add it in the navigation index. Below the chat, we're gonna have the group info, and the component is gonna be group info screen. Okay, now the last step is to add the 3 dots icon and when we press on it, to navigate to our newly created screen. To add this event, let's go in our chat screen here, and where we are updating the title of our page, let's also update the header right component, and let's provide there an icon. The icon, I already prepared it for you here. Where did I provide it? No, probably I didn't. So we're gonna go and find it. Expo vector icons. Three dots more. This one is gonna work. Or should we do horizontal? Which one works better? I don't know. Let's try this one. So the header right is gonna be a fever icon. So let's also copy the import statement and import it here. All right. Now if I'm gonna go here, we see the icon and we can make it gray, and then on press, what do we want to do on press? We want to navigate navigation.navigate to the group info, and we also need to send the ID of a group. So the ID of a group is gonna be chat. The ID of a group is gonna be let's do chat room ID. And for that reason, we need to add the chat room ID in the dependency list as well. So now if I press on this, I go to the group info screen. And on the group info screen, I'm going to receive ID and I'm going to be able to query the information about this group and display it here. So for the screen for the details, we can get the user interface from here. So let's copy this file for the group info screen. And let's go in our group info screen and we simply replace it with this one. So what do we do here? Let's first see how it looks. It looks something like this. And what do we do here? We simply display a group name at the top. And actually I need to properly display it like chatroom.name. Do we have chatroom.name? I need to add it in our query chatroom name. So if I go here, name chatroom, get chat room. Oh, I know. When we created the chat room, the group, when we created the group, let's go to the new group screen. We didn't send the name there. For example, in the create a new chat room here, the input should have the name that we mentioned there. So now if I'm gonna go and create a new group, notjust.dev, and I'm gonna select 2 users or even 3. Let's create. And if I'm gonna go here, now I see the title notjust.dev here at the top. So in the group info screen, we needed to query back the name, and we needed to make sure that we are saving the name when creating a group item. Now we are displaying it here. After that, we're simply displaying the number of users in the group. For example, here, 4 participants. And in a flat list using the contact list item, we're displaying all the users from this group. So these are all the users that I selected in the previous screen. And it's gonna work the same for one-on-one messaging as well. For example, here, if I'm gonna check, I see 2 participants. It's basically me and the other user. You know what? In the main screen here, if it's a group, I need to render the group name with bold here instead of the name of a person. So that's coming from our components. Chat list item and chat list item where we have our username. We need to try to render the chat room dot name, and if that's not defined, then we're gonna default to the username. Chat room. Let me check if it has chat. Console log chat room. Where do we fetch the chat room? On the in the screens, in the chat screens, here in the queries, we need to make sure that for the chat room, we are getting the name as well, and also the image. Save. Chat room name and image. Yeah, now I see that the first one is notjust.dev because that's the name. And if the group doesn't have a name, it's gonna fall back to displaying the name of a user. So chat room name or user. Oh, Matteo is saying, hello, first time here. 5+ years of React Native experience, just gonna judge you silently. Okay, let's do it. I am always open to learning something new, so if you have anything to share, feel free. Okay, but we are actually coming closer to the end of today's episode because we actually displayed the group information for our chat room. We have all our users here. The next step is probably to show you how we can delete a user from a group. Deleting a user from a group, that's also a very common use case. And yeah, let's do that. So when we're gonna delete a user from a group, and how is that's gonna happen from the user experience standpoint. So I was thinking that I will simplify the UX. I'm not gonna add any crazy menus. I'm just gonna, whenever we press on the item, I'm gonna open a simple alert from React Native. And I just want to show you how we can connect with a backend and actually delete a chat room user. So for the components in the, no, not in the components, in our screens, group info screen, let's send to our contact list item the on press event. I don't know, on press, on contact press. Let's define this function here, on contact press, and we're gonna simply use an alert here, alert, removing the user. Yeah, I cannot think about the labels, removing the users, and here like, are you sure you want to remove? We can also provide the username, so for that I'm gonna switch to template strings. But to display the username, we need the information about the user. So on contact press will receive the user information here. So let's make sure to send it when we call the function. On contact press item dot user. Not item.user, it's actually item, because this is not a user, but a user chat room user. So we're gonna get chat room user dot name, and then from this group. Let's check if that's at least working. Let's go to this group. Let's go to the information. And if I press on one of these users, removing the user, are you sure you want to remove Carly Spurer from this group? Yeah, that's the right name. Now we need to provide the buttons that we will have there. So for the buttons, the first one, we can have cancel, and the type style can be cancel. And the second one, the second button is gonna be the one that will remove. The style, it's gonna be destructive to have it with red. And the on press event will be remove chat room user. Remove chat room user by providing the chat room user here. And that's going to be our other function that will implement the actual deletion of the chat room user. For now, we don't have to do anything there, but if I press here, removing the user, is it actually title? Oh, no, it's text. How would you manage the delete chat function? Like if a user wants to delete the chat, it should happen from his, her side only, not from both sides. That's if you want to remove a group, that's probably should happen like from like removing the group as an admin. And that means that you remove it for everyone. If you want to just leave a group, then you would simply remove the chat room user. And that's actually, I think, what you asked. If you want to remove a conversation with a person, you don't want to see that conversation, but that person should still be seeing that conversation. So what you should do is you simply remove yourself from that group, and in that situation, yeah, like it's gonna work. Like the messages are still gonna be there for the other users to see, but you're not gonna see it because you are not a chat room user in that particular chat room. I could move this logic to the list item component, to this contact list item. I don't want to do that because my contact list item is a very reusable component. So the logic of what should happen when I press on it is quite different in every use case. So for example, when we are in the contacts, whenever I press on one of these users, I am creating a chat room with him. When I'm in a group, when I'm clicking on this chat contact list item, I'm just selecting them. So that's why we refactor it to actually extract the specific logic of what should happen to extract it outside. So going back, yeah, like I was trying to test if it works. Yeah, cancel and remove should actually remove that user, that chat room user from our list. So to remove a user, we're gonna run a mutation, because every time we want to update some data for on our backend, we are working with a mutation. So in this case, the mutation is gonna be delete user chat room, and the inputs should be version and ID. Okay, let's go ahead and import this query in our group info screen. We're gonna import from GraphQL mutations, and we're gonna import the delete user chat room. All right, so in the remove chat room here, which is going to be an async function, let's do a wait api.graphql, and we want to run the GraphQL operation delete chat room user. Delete user chat room. I'd call it delete chat room user, but they call it differently, like Amplify. You're missing a function wrap around the button on press. Button on press. Yes, definitely. Yeah, thank you. Like this. We need a function for the on press, and when we press on this function, we need to call the remove chat user. So in the remove chat user, yeah, we're deleting the user, but we need to provide the input. So for the input, we said that we need input, and we need version and ID. We need input, and inside the input, we need the version. Is it? Yeah, underscore version that we're gonna get from the parameters that we send down here. So the version will come from the chat room user dot version, and the ID is gonna be ID chatroom user dot ID. Okay, so deleting that one. Let's just console log the response to see what we have there. Because, yeah, it's not going to be that straightforward to delete. And I'm going to explain you in a moment why. Let's try to delete this user, remove data, delete user chat room. We see the updated object, and we don't see any errors. And we expect this user to be deleted from this chat group. If I refresh, come on. And if I'm gonna go back to that group to check the users, well, he's actually still there. And why does that happen? That happens because of a way AppSync will handles deleting objects. So whenever we have versioned enable in our AppSync, and in our case we have it, and I'm not gonna get into the details of the versioning, but what you need to know in this context is that AppSync will use soft deletion. What soft deletion means? It means that instead of removing the item from the database, I'm gonna try to remove it once again. Instead of removing the item from the database, we simply add underscore deleted true field on the user. And also technically we add one more field that I don't see it here because we are not querying it. But on the database layer, if we check this object, we're gonna see it. That field is called TTL, which stands from time to live. And time to live is a timestamp that specify how long should we retain the deleted user in our database, the deleted item in our database. And by default, it's set for 30 days, which means that for 30 days, your deleted items will still be here. And this is done to prevent some situations where, like you deleted an item without, I'm trying to explain you without confusing you more. So yeah, like this helps AppSync merge different data with different versions, and that's why we need it. But it adds a bit of work on our side because we now have to manually filter these deleted items from our front end. And if I'm not mistaken, let me check like where do we query this data from in the group chat room. We have flat list chat room users. So the problem is that if I'm gonna check a mutation, for example, list user chat rooms, there is no filter on the deleted field. So there is no way to provide a GraphQL filter so that our backend automatically filters and doesn't return us these items. This is the disadvantage. And when you're working with data store, this happens automatically behind the scenes for you. But when we're working directly with GraphQL, we need to take a next step and to filter out deleted items from here. To do that, it's pretty simple, but we need to make sure we are handling this filtering everywhere where we are displaying the items. For example, I'm gonna go ahead and simply define our users by mapping through the chat room. Actually, let's do it like below to make sure that we have a chat room. So chat room users items, and let's do filter where the item is not deleted. So I deleted item, and where it's not deleted. So we need to filter out all the deleted item. Deleted. Now if I'm gonna go to the notjust.dev here, and if I'm gonna check the users, I still see them because I need to send this users array to our flat list. And now I don't see that user because he is deleted. All right, so that's how we delete it. And don't be afraid if you don't see them like deleted completely. They are deleted. They are deleted using soft deletion by simply mentioning the underscore deleted. And DynamoDB will take care automatically for you to remove them completely after 30 days. So don't worry, you're not gonna collect a lot of data that is not necessary. It's gonna be there only for the next 30 days and then it's gonna go away. So this is how we delete items from here. But again, like it's quite error prone, so we need to make sure that we are filtering wherever we have to. For example, right on this screen, I see a problem. I see that it still displays that we are 4 participants in this group, which is not true. So I need to update here the length of my users array, which is 3. Yeah. And another thing is, make sure to filter on this underscore deleted in the other places. For example, in these chats, we also have to filter on this. So I'm gonna do chats. Let me do it this way. I'm going to remove myself from this group. So this is my user, I think. And I shouldn't see this notjust.dev here because I am deleted. So in the chat screen, let's think, where do we have it? We have a flat list of message. No, not in the chat screen, but in the chats screen. So we have chats. We have chat room for the data. Why it's not in plural? Chat rooms should be chat rooms. That was weird. And fetch chat rooms. We're going to fetch using the list chat rooms. What's this list chat rooms expecting? List chat rooms. It's coming from the queries. Screens queries here. So get user. We will need to get the underscore deleted for the thing for these chat rooms, if I'm not mistaken. Deleted. I can check that here. So we had a get user field. In the get user, we have chat rooms that have items deleted. So yeah, it should be in the chat rooms deleted. Yeah, it shouldn't be there. It should be inside the chat room here. Should be underscore deleted. And chat room deleted. And then we need to filter out. So how do we filter out? Rooms equal to that one. Then we have to, we simply filter here. Filter based on the item not to be deleted. Item dot underscore deleted. console log to response. Let me check this one. I'm gonna remove some of them. Things that I don't need, like console logs, to be able to see the console log that I'm expecting. So if I refresh, get user chat rooms items. Let me grab this array. Let me format it here. Inserted missing codes, what? I need to stringify it. Or I simply have to check the data chat room. Chat room. This is an object. Get user dot chat rooms response.data dot get user, that is coming here, then chat rooms, then items, and then underscore deleted. Did I make a mistake? Deleted is null. Do you see it here? Items dot map item, I just want item dot deleted. Undefined, 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 undefined. All of them are undefined. Did I add it correctly here? Chat room. No. It should be in the items. Yes. I made a mistake here by querying the deleted of the chat room, but I should have queried the deleted of the user chat room. This is actually user chat room. So now, null, true, null. That means that one of them is deleted and it should filter it out. The group notjust.dev should disappear. Yes, it's not here. And I can go ahead and remove myself from every group here. Remove user. And with Erna shouldn't be here after updating. Are you? Yes, it's gone. Perfect. That's good. That's perfect. If I'm thinking about subscription on update chat room. Will you also update? No, this one will. Yeah, user items deleted. So yeah, this works, but again, this is not everything. You should make sure that you implement this filtering on the deleted in every other place where it's important. I don't know, receiving notifications or receiving updates, stuff like that are also important. Okay, so with that being said, we are done with deleting a user. Should I also work on a feature to add more users here? We can do that actually. Let's see. Oh, we started seeing messages. What if we delete chat for a private chat? In that case, if we remove participants from members array, then there would be only one left in the room. Will that be called a room if only one member is left? Yeah, it's still going to be a room that will hold the history of messages. Even if everyone leaves the room, like, we're still going to be able to have that information and data in our database. So that's the advantage of how we designed our rooms. Not necessarily to have like user 1 and user 2, but to have like 0, 1, 2, or even more users inside it. So with the same database design, we can handle one-on-one messaging and also group messaging as well. You can use Expo for these tutorials. Yes, we are using Expo for this tutorial. Can we encrypt files with AWS Amplify? Yes, you can encrypt files with AWS. It's mostly, yeah, like for AWS. And there are a couple of ways. Like, first of all the data in transit is automatically encrypted for us, so we don't have to take any steps to encrypt data in transit. But you can also encrypt data at rest, basically to keep the data in your S3 buckets encrypted. But yeah, like, that's a bit more advanced, and you have to set some encryption keys and implement it there. But it's possible, definitely. Salud, salud. Hello, Adam. How are you doing? Thanks for sharing that, Matteo. Matteo is saying that he prefers naming arrays with list suffix. I don't prefer that. And yeah, like, at the end of the day, it's a simple preference. So it doesn't mean that that's wrong or that's how it's supposed to be. I don't like using yeah, too difficult to explain what I wanted to say. But if that works for you, good for you. Guess who is year 1 at software engineering in Cambridge? Oh my God, Marius, congratulations, that's so nice. Are you have you moved there, or are you studying like online these days? Very good tip for using JSON stringify in order not to have to copy it in the JSON formatter. Yeah, that's something that I will use, definitely. Thank you. Can we do it without updating? Can we do it without updating? What do you mean? Which one specifically? Oh, to remove it without having to update? Yeah, for that we're gonna have to implement the same filters with deleted for our on update mutation. So yeah, it's a bit more tricky, but we can do it. I'm coding my own chat app using React Native plus Firebase with your stream playing on the workspace, a virtual coding buddy. That's so nice. And Twilio for real-time phone calls, or what we can use on AWS solution without reload. No, we cannot do it simply with a use effect if you're talking about like removing things from here, because we on our, let me show you an idea. In our chat screen, we filter based on the deleted only when we fetch the chat rooms. But when we listen for updates in the component chat list items here, we are listening for updates. We are actually listening to the on update chat room. What we would be interested in is to listen to the on update, let's do it like this, on update user chat room and to see if the user was updated and the deleted appeared there. On delete chat room, you would use a filter for subscribing to a couple of user chat rooms, or maybe to, you would first have to find your user chat room in this chat room and subscribe to the on either on delete or on update, but I think it's gonna be the on update because the delete operation is simply an update operation. And based on that, like again, like remove it from the state. I'm thinking to, like maybe in the next weeks, we're gonna cover audio and voice calling. So I'm gonna give a try for a couple of tools. I worked with Vox Implant and I really liked their solution. We'll see what we're gonna use. Okay, so I promised you one more task. I promised you adding people to a chat room. So we saw how we can remove things. Now let's go ahead and see how we can add people to the chat room. So for that, look, we're gonna have a very similar screen as the new group screen, because we still have to display a list of users to be able to select them, and then based on the selected ones to simply add them there. So let's go ahead and duplicate our new group screen. Let's go and duplicate it here, and we're gonna call it add contacts to group screen. Very specific name. Now in our navigation, let's add this screen at the end here as add contacts. Add contacts to group screen. Add contacts to group screen. Add contacts. Now add contacts. Mega line, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So now what we have to do is somewhere in this page to add a button, add contacts, I don't know, invite people. So let's go ahead in our group info screen here, and where we have our, here we will need navigation. Let's grab the navigation object. And where we have our title, participants, to the right, I want to add another title. Another text that will say invite friends. I will put them into the same view that will have a style justify content flex direction row. I want them in the same row. Flex direction row and justify content space between. Let's close this view after the two texts. like this. And let's also do a line item center. So coming here, we have invite friends, line items center. Why are not centered? I don't know, but I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on that one here. And I'm gonna say style for this one is gonna be, I don't know, font weight bold. And I want the color royal blue. And whenever we press on this text, on press, we're gonna redirect the user using navigation. We're gonna navigate to add contacts, or how did we call it? Contacts. Add contacts, yep. And we're gonna send there some data because we need to know the information about the chat room itself. So chat room, let's just simply send the whole chat room. I always say that it's not the best approach to send whole objects, but rather you should send IDs and in that part to query it. But for this specific case, I'm gonna make an exception and send the whole chat room object to have it there. So now if I'm gonna go to one of the groups, and if I'm gonna do invite friends, yes, I can go here to the add contacts page. Okay, let's adjust a bit our add contacts page. Let's do it this way. Where is it? Screens, add contacts to group screen. First of all, we're not gonna have a name. We're not gonna have a name. We're not gonna have the name state. Let's search name here. Where? Disable the name. Okay. Where else? Name here. And yeah, here for the input, we're not gonna have it. Set name also go away. What else we will have? Invite friends. After we select them, instead of create, the button is gonna be called invite or add to group. The on press is gonna be on add to group press. And the logic, let's adjust a bit the logic of this function. So the logic will be, we don't have to create a new chat room. So we're gonna have to remove this one. Remove these lines that are responsible for creating a new chat room. We simply want to add all the selected users to the existing chat rooms. So that's what this part does. The only thing is that we need the chat room ID. Where do we take it from? We're gonna take it from the route. Use navigation. Use navigation, and our chat room is gonna be route.params dot chat room. I think I called it chat room. So we can simply use this chat room here instead of a new chat room. We don't need the last step to adding ourselves because we are already there. So let's remove that. We will reset the selected users, and we are going to, instead of navigating to that chat room, we can do navigation, go back. Simply to go back one screen. And I think that's good. So in this situation, if I'm going to, we have currently two users, one with number, one Kachi, I don't know. Route params chatroom, not there. Let's see. Oh, because it should be use route. Okay, let's go ahead one more time. Invite friends. Let's add Carolee here. Add to group. It's gonna come back here. We can implement as well on this screen like pull to refresh. That's gonna be easier than subscribing to data updates. And for this situation, I think that's perfectly fine. So in the group info, I will add here. We need two things. We need the const loading, set loading, use state false. Where are we querying the data? It's here, so we will add it into a function, fetch users. Where do we take the users from? Chat room users item. Chat room users item. So fetch chat room is gonna be here. So the logic will be this one API call. We will transform it to async await. So let's do const result equal await. And I'm gonna remove this one from here without the .then, like this. And this will allow us to set loading to true at the beginning, easier, and set loading to false at the end. In this use effect, we still have to make sure to call the fetch chat room because we want to fetch the chat room when we mount the component, but we also want to call this function whenever we pull down our list. So on refresh is going to be equal to fetch chat rooms and is refreshing equal loading. Now if I'm going to go here to the user info, I already see two users and I see the Carly that I added. So if I'm going to invite one more, for example, Erna here, add to group, I'm going to come back and I can pull down to refresh and I see Erna right away here. And if that was a mistake, I can press and remove it, update it one more time, and she is not here anymore. Perfect. Look what I also want to do. I want to, in order not to be able to add the same user twice in the group, as I did right now, I want to add a check on the invite friends here to kind of remove items that are already selected. How we're gonna do that? So data is users. Users is in the state. Set users. Yeah, probably I'm gonna do the items. Before setting them in state, I'm gonna filter out the users that are already there. So item chat room dot. Man, I need information about the chat room. Chat room has, what does chat room has? Chat room has users, items. Chat room has user items dot. If some of that already existing items are matching existing user, Okay, that's complicated, and I'm pretty sure it's not gonna work from the first time. So if item dot id equal to existing dot id, so we need to filter. I think if there is no user in that array, I don't know. Carly is here. Carly is still here. I need to console log some things here in order to get to the root. So console log result, and here we're gonna use the trick that we learned today in the live stream. So JSON stringify items. Then what was here? I don't know, null and space 2, like this. And also I want to query the chat room. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. That's so useful. So this is the chat room. And this is our results. The results have ID and has name. So it's right that we are working with the ID here. That's the ID of a user. So result item.id, that's correct. Now let's check the structure of our chat room. Chat room here, the ID is actually not of a user, it's actually of a chat room. So we need to work with user ID from here. Yes, user ID. So existing chat room dot exist chat room user dot user ID, and now it's gone. And really, I managed to do filter with some right away from the beginning, because if I remove it, I see only our existing items here. Okay. But you know what? For example, now I'm gonna remove this Carly. I'm gonna remove him. I refresh it, and I'm not gonna be able to invite him one more time, because when we are hiding these results here, we need to also take into consideration that the item is not deleted. So we need the chat room user deleted. Oh my God, we add more logic here. So chat room user if the ID matches and the item is not deleted, save. Yes, it works. I'm gonna add him here, update, he is here. I'm gonna go to invite friends, he's not here. And if I'm gonna remove him, then I'm gonna be able to invite him one more time. Add to group. Yes, I think it works. You know how to test if everything works as expected? Is to open it up and for us to sign up and register and have a chat here. Um, so let me open it with a tunnel, and let's see if we will npm start tunnel. Whew. So that means that we also implemented free invite users to a group chat. Okay. So guys, scan this QR code right now. I'm gonna put it here with your Expo Go application, or paste in the URL that I sent you there in the chat, and sign up for an account, and let's have a conversation. But until you do that, I think I'm gonna go ahead and no, I don't have to do anything because you will. Yeah, it should be fine. So before everything, let me actually go and add everything. Git commit -m. That's our backend 2 and the task number 5. This is group management. Let's have a look at some of the questions that we receive here. What is my theme? I have a video on my top VS Code extensions, and there I also mentioned the theme that I use. If I'm not mistaken, that's material community icon, material community theme, or something like that. Opening an AWS account. Just follow the registration guide on AWS here, AWS. The requirement is that, yeah, like you need to provide a valid credit card. So creating an AWS account, it's pretty straightforward to do that. But yeah, you need to provide a valid credit card. Update chat room listener filter. Can you show the QR code on the screen? Yes, sorry for that. Let me do that. Or you can also do the URL that I pasted there. That should also work. I'm wondering if there is anyone. Null is not an object response data get user chat rooms. I need to add much more error handling. And one of the issues I see that multiple people get is this response. Let me check where I have it. In the chat screen, have console log here, and rooms, fetch chat rooms. Rooms is response. Yeah, here I will have to do it like this. Yeah. Oh, we already have some users there. Let me check. So the users should be the one with some digits, because we didn't implement it like updating the image. So creating a chat room doesn't work. Did we mess up something? Yeah, something is not working to create a chat room with a new users that are joining. If I go here, no, it actually works. Raid Brown, I see you. Or no? I need to update it on my device as well. What other features, guys, you would like to see in our application? Because I plan to continue working on this project for a couple of more episodes. And some of my ideas are enriching the messages itself to be able to send more types of messages except the text messages. That would include like images, videos, audio, what else? Links. I'm really curious on how to enrich the links themselves with their thumbnails and URLs, titles, and so on. We can work on message reactions. We can work on displaying whether the person read the message or not, and that will allow also to show us how many unread messages you have in a chat room. What else in terms storage? Definitely to be able to send messages, to attach media files, and also to use like as a profile picture a proper image, because at the moment we don't have that. What else we can do? I have like a lot of ideas, and maybe of course like calling and audio. Giphy. Okay, that's also a good idea. I would love, yeah, Giphy. Let me note it down actually, because that's a great idea. Message reactions. Push notifications. Good idea. Push notifications. Okay. Mentioning people from the group chat. That was one idea from one of our subscribers. When you send a message to someone, you could tag them. What else? Replying to messages. Oh my God, like if we want, like this project can go so much in depth, like to cover so many things. Try the command. Someone is saying that npm create React Native application is not working. If you want to use Expo, you could try this command. Copy this one. Voice calling and video calling. Search for a user. That's good. This will be the next, not just Messenger, Facebook. I definitely don't intend to publish this, but it's a very good educational material because it covers so many aspects of building an application. And if you enjoy this, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like. I already am tired after 3 hours of coding, so bear with me. I really want to read through some of the questions And yeah, if you still have some suggestions, ideas, please leave them in the comments. And I will take them into consideration next week when we continue this build. Next week, also on Friday at the same time, we continue the build with more features, and I still haven't decided which specific features, but we definitely will do that. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell not to miss that video. Very, very important. I think that that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching till the end. I'm gonna see you next Friday, and I wish you a very enjoyable weekend. And yeah, keep coding, keep writing, amazing application.